I'm Mandy Gus, and on today's edition of Ask the, we'll be talking with the Deputy Director of Water from Las Cruces Utilities about the quality and safety of our water. Hello and welcome. We're here today with Ron Borunda from the Las Cruces Utilities. Hi Ron, thanks for being with us today.
Hi Mandy.
All right, can you tell us a little bit about your role and what you do at Las Cruces Utilities?
Absolutely. So I am the Deputy Director of Water, and basically what I do is I oversee all operations of the water system here in Las Cruces. So that basically means from where we get the water, how we treat the water, and then how we get it to the customers, so that way they can use it for whatever they need to use it for. Cooking, watering, pets, and of course consumption.
And can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What's your background? How long have you been at the Las Cruces Utility?
Absolutely. So here at this at the Las Cruces Utility, I've been here coming up on 4 years. I came here in February of 2019, okay. But I actually had previous years' experience. I actually started in this industry in 2004, and I've pretty much just worked my way all the way up, climbed the ladder, and then eventually got into the role of the Deputy Director position.
Great. Well, we're lucky to have that experience here. I know recently our utilities department did a survey where we asked people their thoughts on that, on our utility service. What did you guys learn from that?
We learned a lot from that. To be honest, what we really learned was that the public is pretty in the know, meaning they know a lot about like water treatment. They really do have a lot of knowledge in that area. But what we also found was there was some question as to like how we report and basically if the water is in fact safe. But really overall, like I said, people are really educated in water and water treatment. So we did find that. So
I'm going to go back to what you just said. Is our water safe?
Oh yes, absolutely. The water here, especially in Las Cruces, we're always testing water, meaning we collect samples from the system. We send it to a laboratory up in Albuquerque, and then those results go to the New Mexico Environment Department. But then there's a parent agency, or parent company, and that's the Environmental Protection Agency. We know them as the EPA.
Right.
And the New Mexico Environment Department we know as the NMED. Mm-hmm. So all those results go to them, which then come back to us to say, hey, you're in compliance or you're not in compliance. If we weren't in compliance, they would pretty much let us know immediately. And then we would, at that point, we would have to take some sort of action. But yes, no, the testing is vigorous. It is always happening too, mind you. It's not like, well, we test this day, 3 months down the road, we test again. No, we're always testing the water to look at the water and see what's in it, mm-hmm. And also to see what our treatment is doing. Are we actually doing what we're supposed to be doing to make clean, safe water?
All right, that's great to know that it's not just a one-off, it's a continuous testing program. Yeah. So I'm sure you get a lot of questions and probably frequently asked questions, the same question over and over. What are some common questions about our water that you think it would be good to address so people know?
Sure. There's, like you said, there's a lot of different questions. One of the first one that I get always is water could look milky or even mm-hmm. cloudy. Okay, and what that is that's just air that some way somehow got introduced into the system. So air, when it gets trapped in the system, it'll kind of cause the like a cloudiness or even this milky looking, and it can be unpleasant to the eye, and, mm-hmm. and that's what brings up the concerns, right?
Right.
People all of a sudden are like, hey, something's wrong with my water, but all it is air.
Okay.
And actually, Actually, we have a cup here. If that were to happen, you can actually sit here and watch the air come out of the water, and the water actually clear up.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's pretty fun to kind of look at it and see the
Watch
the
it
air.
take care of itself.
Yeah, watch it kind of take care of itself, and that's all it really is just give it a couple minutes, and the water will settle, the air will come out, and it's completely safe to drink.
So one of the things that I've experienced is sometimes my water is like brown or red. What would cause that?
So brown or red water is that basically comes from iron.
Okay.
Because our water here in Las Cruces, there's two different types of water. There's surface water, which is rivers, lakes, ponds. So like, for instance, Elephant Butte. Okay. Think of Elephant Butte. That's surface water because that's on the surface. Then there's groundwater. That's what's below us. That's usually aquifers, bolsons, things of that nature. Here in Las Cruces, we are a groundwater system.
Okay.
We only pump from the ground. We get our water from the Mesilla Bolson and the Jornada Bolson. So iron is a metallic, right? We know that.
Right.
We know that it's a metal, but that's naturally occurring within the Earth's crust. So what you're seeing there is the water. Water absorbs everything, literally everything. So if there's iron in the ground, which there is here, that water will absorb it. So that's why you see red or brownish water, that's basically iron. Now, it's still safe to consume.
Okay.
Because naturally, we need things like iron, those metallics within our bodies. Again, same with air. Although it's unpleasant to look at, it's still safe to consume.
And I know sometimes it can be other colors, like a black. Is that a similar thing that's happening?
Yes, yes. So black is manganese,
Okay.
which, again, another metallic. So it's the same story as iron, where it's naturally occurring in the Earth's crust. Water absorbs that metallic, and when we pump it up, it's in the water.
Okay.
We really are at the mercy of what the planet gives us and what we're given. So, at that point, we just try to do our best to keep it at bay, but there really is no way to pull it out.
Okay.
If we were to do that, we'd have to have really extensive like plant treatment, and it would be a pretty large process. So
in both or all of those situations, you said sometimes it doesn't look good. It's still safe for us to consume, but that was more about looks. Sometimes it smells different. Can you tell me what would cause that to happen?
Absolutely. So yeah, just like you said, with may not look well. It has some colors. Unfortunately, water can produce smells, especially I think the most common one is like a rotten egg odor. And really what that is that's because water becomes stagnant, especially in a home that, let's just say, it's a single person, they don't really use a whole lot of water. That water in those lines can become stagnant and start to produce smells. Same thing can happen in our water part of the water system. That usually happens at like dead ends or even cul-de-sacs. But there are ways to freshen up the water to where those smells will go away, and that's really just flushing the lines, flushing the system. And same goes for in a resident's home. It's usually if they're experiencing some sort of smells. We tell them we need to flush your line, meaning any outlet, flush for a long time, and that'll freshen up the water, and the smell will eventually go away.
So that would be like I would run my water sort of in all of my faucets to move that water, move the stagnant, and then the smell should go away.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And the best thing to do at that point is if you are experiencing like some sort of odor, to call our 24/7 dispatch center.
Okay.
Their phone number is 575-526-0500.
Okay.
What happens at that point is when they call that number, they'll dispatch out a service technician. and then they can go assess and see, is it only within the customer's plumbing, or is it actually on our city system, which at that point then we can take course of action and actually flush and,
great.
and get it freshened up for them.
Okay, great. And sometimes instead of like a bad smell, it's more like a chemical chlorine type smell. Is that different?
It is different.
Okay.
It is different in that we use chlorine to basically disinfect the water coming from the wells, and we do this. We add in chlorine at every well site,
Okay.
and that's again to disinfect the water. Chlorine is widely used throughout not only the U.S. but even throughout the world. A lot of different reasons for that is because it's readily available and pretty cost-wise it's fair. It can be pricey at times, and then at times it's not. But really what it boils down to is it's the most effective way of treating water. So yeah, you ask about the smells.
Right.
So it's not actually chlorine that produces the smell. When we add chlorine into the water, there's actually no smell.
Oh.
Okay. So what happens though is when water and chlorine react, okay, meaning the chlorine did its job and actually disinfected anything that may exist in the water, then at that point, water starts to break down chlorine more and produces chloramines.
Okay.
So it's the chloramines that you're actually smelling. They're the ones that produce the actual odor. Chlorine itself is non-existent. So even like at a swimming pool, for instance,
Right.
you smell that strong chlorine. Those are actually chloramines because the chlorine in the water actually have already reacted and it did its job.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so is that sort of a long-term smell, or is that usually just short-term?
It's well, that's a good question. It can be either or.
Okay.
Again, same thing with just like I was talking earlier about moving water.
Yes.
That's basically how you would get rid of that odor, is to move the water again.
Got it.
If you don't move the water, then the smell can linger. But if you start to freshen up your water, then it eventually goes away.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I feel like I've learned something new for sure.
Yeah.
The last question that I get, when I have people who visit from out of town, a lot of times they'll tell me your water tastes metallic, or your water feels hard. What does that mean, and can you tell me what's going on?
Sure, absolutely. Water is really cool, and it's really unique in that it's not created equal. Okay. Because I had already said, here we pump from the ground, so we're given what we're given. So of course, like you said, there's minerals, there's metallics, things like that. But if you go, let's just say further east, they're going to have their own, how can you say, characteristics.
Sure.
You see what I'm saying? They're going to have their own issues and their own things to deal with. And because we are pumping from the Earth's crust, that's why here in Las Cruces we see a little bit harder water because, again, calcium. There's all kinds of different things within the Earth, within the planet, that it yields. So again, water absorbs all those things, and that's why they have those like the feel of hardness and even like the taste of hardness is because what they're actually tasting is basically the planet.
So we've talked about some of these like frequently asked questions. You mentioned earlier if I needed to call the 24-hour phone number, when should we call? When is that concern that I should call and make sure that everything is the way that it should be in my water, in my house?
I would do it as soon as you feel something is there's an issue.
Okay.
If anything doesn't look right or anything doesn't taste right, I would immediately call our dispatch center, so that way we can get out there and assess and say, okay, what's going on.
And tell us that dispatch number again.
Sure. It's 575-526-0500.
Okay, great. That's good to know. But again, and I think we've talked about all of those things. We can have dispatch come out and take a look at our water. But you're telling me it's safe for me to use it to cook, to clean, to consume?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, our water here. So this last year, we actually had zero infractions or zero, what's the word I'm looking for here? Basically, zero issues with
Great.
our water, meaning it was tested and tested over and over again, and then the results came back that we were well in compliance. And we also, every year, we put out a consumer confidence report, or what we call CCRs. Those go out every July,
Okay.
around that time frame. A lot of information in there too, just so you know. And we mail those out to everyone in our system. And but yeah, in there it clearly shows, what's in your water, and how basically our water measures up to those different those different things that could be in water.
Oh, good.
But yes, no, it's absolutely safe. 100% really. It's we have good water here. We really do. Aside from, like I said, sometimes it may not look pleasant or smell pleasant. It's completely safe.
That's really good to know.
Yeah.
I really want to thank you for taking the time to explain our water system to us. Is there anything else that you think people should know about water or about Las Cruces utilities?
Sure. If I can just end on one note, I can't express how much we do our due diligence to make sure the water is safe to drink here. Like I said, we're always testing the water. We're always looking at it, saying, has anything changed? And if so, how do we treat it? We really go the extra mile to ensure that our water is clean and safe for all aspects of life, meaning not just humans. There's plants, there's animals. Water touches everything.
Yeah.
So it's really important that we do our job to make sure that everything is safe for everything, not just humans, but
Right.
literally everything it touches.
Well, thank you again, Ron, for being here, explaining it to us. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you.
Thank you.